Hi folks, welcome to our second class of our mind map course. In this class we will learn how to mind map in the proper way so that we'll get the best results out of the efforts that we put in. And we will learn a little bit also about how this technique came to be, how it was developed and who developed it, so that we'll know a little bit about its history. I hope we will all have a good time in this class and learn a little bit more. Tony Buzan was a British psychologist that at the end of the 60s and beginning of the 70s last century worked with children who had learning problems. Most of those kids were diagnosed with learning disability. But what he found out was that they didn't have a disability. What they had was a difficulty, and a learning difficulty. Most of them were right-brained, and they had difficulties in adapting to the methodology that the schools used to teach them, and so they didn't do well in their studies. And Tony Buzan was working with those children, and because they had difficulties in adapting to the methodology used, he proposed a new methodology to work with those students. And he came up with a methodology called radiant thinking that he had developed along with his brother Barry Buzan. And the results were very encouraging. And radiant thinking used a central image or a central word, and from that point they radiated information. So it was a way of breaking the information into pieces. So they had a central image that identified the title of the information, and they radiated pieces or details of that information. That's why they called it radiant thinking. It was just like spokes in a wheel. Further development by Barry and Tony Buzan, they came up with a book. They wrote a book called the Mind Map Book. And mind maps are basically the same thing as radiant thinking, but much more organized and with a set of rules that when applied can be used for many other uses. Not only to teach children with difficulties, but it can be used especially for planning, for management, and also academically. Anyone that make use of this technique can improve their results. And this is how the mind maps came into being. The mind map technique is based on on three tenets. The first one is it's organic. And why is it called organic? It's organic because it imitates the brain, the natural way that we think. We don't think one thing and then we stop that what we were thinking to think another thing. So it's we think everything at once. So the mind maps, it presents the information as a whole, not in a sequence. So that's why it's called organic. It's a mnemonic technique because it facilitates the memorization. And how does it happen? It's by putting the information in a certain order. And it is also a learning technique. It's basically a learning technique. Even though the corporate world uses it for planning and for management, it was developed and its main use is for learning. So it's a technique, organic, mnemonic, and learning. These are the tenets of this technique. So mind maps, they facilitate the memorization of the information, and they do it by the hierarchization of the information. So when we have a certain hierarchy of the information, that it will be easier for us to remember, to recall that information later. So they also facilitate the reviews of what the notes that we have taken. So it facilitates the process of note taking. And note taking, it's very important for us to make better reviews and summaries. It facilitates planning, either personal plannings or team planning. And it also facilitates follow-up of projects, either simple personal projects or complex corporate projects, and the follow-up of studies, especially study plans, and see how we are in our planning, where we are in our planning. Have we learned what is there still to learn and things like that. So it's very good for follow-up. And the requirements are very easy. As the requirements for using the technique, it's basically learning the technique itself, which is very, very easy, and practicing. Practicing, it's a difficulty in everything. The problem is not so much that we don't know. The problem is how to use what we know. That's the real challenge in everything. And it's no different with the mind map technique. So we will, of course, easily meet these requirements, and we will be able to use the mind maps to get the best results of our studies and of our plannings. So now let's start mind mapping. The first thing we have to learn is the position of the page. Well, what is the best position for the page while mind mapping? So we use the page on the landscape mode. And we start with a central image. This image, it can be an image itself, or it can be a title, but it could be words. But one of the requirements is that either the image or the words, they must contain at least 3 colors. It can be more than 3 colors. It can't be less, so it should be at least 3 colors. And what is this central image? The central image is the title of the mind map. Say that you were reading a book, for instance, Gulliver's Travels. So you either put an image of the book, or an image that you draw yourself that reminds you of Gulliver's Travels, or you write Gulliver's Travels, but it should have at least 3 colors. So this central image, it should be memorable, because it will be the title of the map. When you are using software, you will see that the software itself will take the words of the central image as the title of the map. So it's the title of the map. And throughout the map, every time you can substitute a word for a symbol, we will do it, because the symbols make it easier to recall the information later. And the title should be memorable. So it's the title of the book, the title of the article, the title of the project that you're writing. So it's it should be memorable. I think you've seen that from the main image, some branches radiate from the main image, just like the spokes of a wheel. So these branches, the branches that are directly connected with the central image, we call primary branches, and they are the details of the information. So going back to the example of Gulliver's Travels, so the central image would be the title of the book, and the branches, the primary branches, they would be the title of the chapters. So if you were reading something like that has a title, the title will be the main, the central image, and all the subtitles will be the primary branches. So these branches are always connected with the central image, and they touch the central image, and they represent the relevance of the information. The closer to the center the information is, the more relevant, the more important they are. And you will see your brain will automatically choose to have for each map around between 6 to 9 primary branches. It could be more, it could be less, but most of the maps will have between 6 to 9 branches. Connected, spreading out from the central branches, we have the secondary branches, which are the details of the information. The more secondary branches we have, the more detailed will be the map. We will always try to make use of colors throughout the map. So every time we use more colors, we use colors at least 3. It will make it easier for us to recall later the information, so it improves the memorization. It decreases the level of boredom, so we don't get tired so much. It stimulates the creativity, and as I told many times before, at least 3 colors. 3 colors is the ideal, and we can repeat the colors, there is no problem. And whenever we can use images instead of words, that will be preferable. Remember that an image, it's worth 1,000 words. So when images, they connect the brain, the left brain with the right brain, and it activates the right brain. And use colors in the central images, and also to mark areas of the map. Let's say an area which of the map, a certain area of the map, it's blue, another one is red, and so on, so that whenever you want to remember where in the map is that information, you have one link, one extra link, which will be the color. No, it's in the right, in the red part of the map. I remember I wrote this in the blue part of the map. So the colors will be links for recalling later. Another important aspect of a mind map is the words that we will use. So instead of using phrases, whenever possible, we will choose a word that represents the phrase. So that will be the key word. So we will try to use just one word, just one keyword for each branch, either primary or secondary. Of course, when we are using titles of chapters and titles of any other category, we will use the whole title, so that's fine. But when we are making a summary of something, or a summary of ideas or thing like that, whenever possible, we will choose just one word per branch to be the keyword. And the keywords, they have categorization. And if we want something to remember, we will use a noun. So nouns are very memorable words. When a child is learning how to speak, the first category of words that he uses and that he learns are the nouns. So the nouns are at the very basis of the matrix of the language. They are what, it's from the noun are the basis from which we learn how to speak. It's the matrix of every language. Like if you remember, when you're trying to learn a foreign language, the first category of words that you use for communication are the nouns. Why is it so? It's because nouns never change. Like mom, water. Mom will never change, will always be mom, and water will never change, will always be water. While when we use adjectives, they change. So the brain understands that nouns are very, very important. So the brain knows it should be memorized. When we use adjectives, the brain understands because they change very much all the time. So the brain does not understand as an important word to keep. Let's say someone is beautiful. Well, that might change. Someone is intelligent. For some reason, that might change. So adjectives are what we call social language. It came into being in human language when we needed to qualify something, to qualify something that was existent before. So that something that was existent before was the noun, and the qualification is the adjective. So the brain understands that, and it memorizes nouns much stronger than it memorizes adjectives. And in between between nouns and adjectives, the verbs. So in choosing the keywords, first you choose a noun, second you choose a verb, and third, and in last case, you choose an adjective as a keyword. We can say that a noun is a command to the brain to remember, while adjective is a command to the brain to forget. So a keyword also represents an idea. It relates words, links words and thoughts and insights. So the choosing of the keyword is very important when we are mind mapping. Okay folks, now we will get started and do our first mind map. So attached with this video, you will find a template, a sheet of paper like this, and it's written My Qualities. And it has 5 primary branches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want you to write on each of the primary branches. I want you to write a quality either that you have or that you want to have. It doesn't matter. So what we are doing this is just for the example's sake. So I want you to do that. Okay, now that you've done, I'll show you what I did with the first primary branch. I wrote the word experience, and notice that I didn't write experient. I didn't write the adjective. I wrote the noun, experience. So I want you to avoid writing adjectives on the first branch. Remember that nouns are easier to recall than adjectives. And what we do with these secondary branches, so we detail which type of experience that you have. So I wrote here medical. I could write here also physicist. These are 2 of my academic experiences. So I want you to do this with the rest of the branches on which you wrote qualities. Okay, so now I will show you the map that I did for myself, writing the qualities either that I have or the qualities that I want them to have. And showing you also that on one of the branches, you see on the 3rd branch, I wrote independent, which is not right. Why is it not right? Because independent is an adjective, and I should avoid to write adjectives on the primary branches. So whenever possible, always write a noun. If not, the second option is a verb. And on the 3rd option would be an adjective. So that's fine sometimes to write an adjective on the first branch or on the primary branch or on the secondary branch. But remember, when you do it, when you choose an adjective as a keyword, it is not very good for recalling later. We know why. Okay, so I'll show you now my map. And this is what I wrote. And of course, there are no right maps or wrong maps. There are just appropriate maps within the technical requirements. And when the map is done within the technical requirements, they will be much easier to recall later.